IVM.
Hi everybody, just wanted to ask everyone for a quick favor. We're running a brand survey right now and would really appreciate it if you could let us know what you think about the advertising on IVM. Go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and do let us know. As part of this, we'll be selecting 10 random participants and sending them some IVM swag, so do fill out those surveys.
This is Storytellers and Story Sellers live on tape. You're listening to Vineet Kanabar on the IVM Podcast Network. When I started doing this show nearly 2 years ago now, the idea was to bring to you creators, storytellers, story sellers, business executives, people who are responsible for putting together the culture that we seem to enjoy and indulge in. One of the companies that has always inspired me, and it's a company that has had its ups and downs, but it's always been one of the prime movers and main drivers of music culture, of reality TV, of modern youth culture, was MTV. And I'm very glad to be joined by Anshul Elavadi from MTV. He is the youngest member of Viacom 18's leadership team in India, and he leads the company's brands in the youth, music, and English entertainment genres, which means MTV, MTV Beats, Comedy Central, VH1, and Colors Infinity. Anshul has been with Viacom for a while. He is obviously someone who deeply understands not just culture, but also the business of culture. And I've got a host of questions lined up for him. Anshul will also talk us through the MTV Youth Study, which is one of the touchstones of youth marketing and youth culture. Anshul, so glad to have you on this show. We're so glad we're sitting down and doing this conversation.
So thanks, Vineet. Thank you for the kind words and thank you for having me here. I'm very excited.
Awesome. Go nowhere as we go into a quick break. On the other side of these messages, you'll hear Anshul and me talk about the host of things that MTV is doing in India in 2021. Right after these messages on Storytellers and Story Sellers.
$100. That's all it takes to begin your journey with Bitcoin and Ethereum. No, really. With CoinSwitch, you can start investing in over 100 cryptocurrencies with just 100 rupees. On top of that, there are zero charges for deposits and withdrawals, so you can trade, buy, sell, however and whenever you want. All of this, plus their extremely intuitive interface, makes CoinSwitch the perfect app for beginners in the crypto space. But don't take my word for it. Just download CoinSwitch for free and try it out for yourself. If you'd like more information on cryptocurrencies, tune into a show about crypto with me, Rohan Joshi, my new adventure on IVM Podcasts. CoinSwitch, kuch to badlega.
Right. Anshul, to get us started on this conversation, tell us where MTV is in its evolution in India. Now, I think it's 40 years since MTV? 1980 to 2021, 40 years. I think you've been in India a good solid 25 years as well, right? Where are you now in your strategy, in your evolution? How are things at MTV right now?
Right. Actually, Vineet, this is our 25th year. So we've grown up in some way. But to be honest with you, the very honest answer to your question is we're confused, just the way we were when we started. Mm-hmm. There's so much to show, so much to tell, so much to do, and so little time. Frankly, I think if you ask me, we're sort of in the process of rediscovering ourselves and rediscovering, the generation that we talk to today. And a bit of that report that you referenced is a step in that direction. Right. But we're figuring things out. I know we're more than just music. I think that's very obvious. But are we about madness? Are we about the moolah? Are we about, there's so many things. Frankly, we don't have an answer. But I think that's what makes us MTV, right? Constantly scoping, scanning the horizon to see where we're at. So we're confused.
It's a very youthful thing to be as well, right? To be confused. Yeah, if you have everything figured out, you've kind of grown up, right? And I'd say that's more BBC than MTV, to be honest. But yeah, while this whole thing has been changing around and, especially the last 10 years, I've seen so many disruptions in the business that we're in, right? Whether it's entertainment, whether it's music, now even sports for that matter, but we'll leave that aside. How are you guys keeping pace with all of this, right? And let me qualify this question a little bit more, right? When I was growing up, MTV was the primary engine of discovery for anything cool, right? Anything cool. Sure, we had another music channel with a single letter name, but they're not around anymore. MTV is still around, right? whether it was Nikhil and Select, or whether it was Shanaz and Most Wanted, or whether it was Splitsvilla later, or whether it was Roadies, which is such a huge, love it or hate it, it's such a huge part of growing up, right? There's a little bit of Raghu inside all of us. The world's changed. None of these brands are cutting the ice with the youth, if I may put it like that. Sure, there are huge brands, they're very monetizable, but coolness thoda shayad pata nahi hai ya nahi hai, right? And I think that is the challenge for everyone. Today, music discovery is happening on TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram Reels for that matter, right? Entertainment is everywhere. You've got a one-size-fits-all Netflix. You've got Amazon Prime doing its own thing. Where does MTV's direction then lie with all of this? How are you guys internally thinking about it?
That's a very good question, actually. Let me answer that in two ways. Yeah.
Sure.
One is the sort of the more sort of proper answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is that we're honestly, while people think of us as a TV channel, we're obviously much more than that, right? So we have our own OTT platform, which is Voot, which gives us access to this whole streaming audience and streaming market, where our numbers are growing, year on year, and we can sort of target things more sharply. We have more data, we have more a better understanding. We're also sort of, probably amongst the biggest sort of organically successful, if you may, creators of content on social media. Right?
Absolutely.
So for instance, you see our Insta following, you see stuff on Facebook and so on and so forth. We're just finishing, a project that we're working on with a leading, edtech company,
mm-hmm.
which is only YouTube based.
Right.
So it's actually, it's called Unacademy Unwind. It's basically a collection of songs. It's only on YouTube, right? We do some runs on TV and all that. So I think for us, frankly, we're a TV channel. We stopped being a TV channel a long time.
Absolutely.
And then no worries about that, right? That's the correct answer, so to speak. But to be very fair to what you're saying, this is a question that we keep sort of checking with, right? And I think the Gen Z audience, or at least our young audience, it's changing so rapidly. Mm-hmm. Trends are so ephemeral that it is something to be on top of all the time. And I must confess, that's the truth, right? And also I tell my team sometimes, that, but I don't like this, I don't. And they look at me and they say, you know what, you're 35. You stopped being our core TG 10 years back.
Right.
So what do you even know about what happens today? So for example, there's a 22-year-old guy in my team. He gave me a lecture the other day on NFTs. Mm-hmm. And what he does? It's pretty interesting. When he basically has a pixelated picture, some random picture as part of his display pic on all social media handles.
Right.
And the guy actually paid money for it. And I can't understand why you would do that, right? And it's a random pixel art. And he says, Anshul, this is what I own. And I said, this looks like some, designer should be sacked. And he gave me a lecture on, no, but this is mine. And I said, how do you know it's yours? And he explained to me how, NFTs work and how there's a public key and only he has whatever. What if it went over my head?
Mm-hmm.
But the point I'm trying to make is that this is a very difficult audience to understand and to be on top of all the time. So we're still learning and we're still evolving on that front. And hopefully in the next couple of months, you will see some initiatives for us that are our attempt at trying to understand this beast a little further.
Right.
But yeah, those are the.
And I think the youth study that you've just put out, it's just such a great key to trying to understand this audience. Again, I'm not going to say that, आपने ये youth study पढ़ ली, अब आपको Gen Z पूरा समझ गया, कल से आप काम पे आ जाना. That's not the intent. But year on year, and I've like I said, gone through this study, referred to it and at various points in my career for various clarifications of various articulations, right? One of the things that I really like about the MTV Youth Study is that it's not like a Ficky Frames, or it's not like any other study where you're like, ठीक है, ये data है, ये आप देख लो. You can interpret it for yourself. The MTV Youth Study and the 2021 edition is called Atmanirbhar by Circumstance, right?
That's correct.
It's always been one of those pieces of learning, or one of those pieces of sociology that come out, which is both left brain, right brain, right? It allows you to refer to data points, but also interprets those data points for you, right? It interprets it qualitatively, but couches it in so much quantitative data, right? I'll give you, for my listeners' benefit, I'll give you a couple of top lines, right? From the highlights of the report. One of the chapters is called Agla Chapter Side Hustle. It talks about how Gen Z feels that it's super important to follow their passions. But it also mentions that 21% of Gen Z feels it that way. There is also a trend line that it talks about, exponentially going up from 9% in 2016, right? Which I think was the last edition of the report, right? Now, where does this report fit in the strategy for MTV, right? How do you internally consume this and use it in your own business? Let me start from there.
That's a good question, Vineet. See, I think what's personally very interesting for me is that while we do this on a regular basis, this is the first time that any sort of insight is available into the minds of young people after the first wave of the pandemic. Now, just think of it here. If you're an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old, you don't even know what's something has happened. You can't understand it.
Right.
The people you generally go to understand it, they don't understand it either.
Right.
The world is confused about it.
Right.
And you have broken relationships, broken careers, broken education, and no one has any answers, right? So at that point in time, you've tried to speak to 26,397 people, young people, across 50 cities in India. That for me is something which is very unique, right?
Right.
And I think if you contextualize it in this fashion, what you'll realize is that, see, this was a time of a lot of insecurity. It probably still is actually, right? Much of us are very fortunate where we are today.
For sure.
So for young people, I think somewhere they realize that, unka na, as weird as it may sound, bharosa ut gaya on everything traditional.
Right.
So even jobs and education is a question they're asking, which is that, is this a way forward? And I think in that context, they're looking at monetizing side hustles. Passions, hobbies, we all had something or the other, whether it was stamp collection or some cards or whatever, right? But I think now it's about monetization.
Stamp collections are what NFTs are for kids, I think. Just side note.
So that's a good point you raised. That the young guy I referenced in the beginning, he doesn't agree. He gave me a sort of earful on how the two are fundamentally different. But I agree with you. So we connect on that. But suddenly these guys, 70% of our sort of guys we sort of surveyed, they said that side hustles are that weird shot at success, fame, and identity, right? And 53% actually said they may not have to go back to conventional careers post.
Right.
For me, it's mind-boggling. So suddenly, I guess what they realized was that अगर सैलरी है तो कट गई होगी, जॉब है तो शायद नहीं होगी, but YouTube में मेरे earnings अभी भी आ रहे हैं. That monetization engine is working. In fact, people are possibly watching more content anyway. So I think
absolutely
in that context, monetization of side hustle is a key thing. It's a pretty big thing, and I think in this context, money's made a comeback here. So pehle, our studies used to say कि passion is everything, the experience. I want to travel to Ladakh and blah. Now it's very clear. It's money is pretty much everything I want in life. It gives me security. It gives me happiness. It gives me, my focus is to be rich and successful. And just to give you some context, right? The trend line that you spoke about, in 2019, 25% of this constituency felt that I just want to be rich and successful.
Right.
Now it's 48%.
Right.
46% now say money is all that matters. And these are very powerful statements, right?
Absolutely.
So I'll tell you something that we're thinking through, right? Which is interesting. And this is the part which is tough. So this is the data and this is the insight. But like you were saying, what are we doing for our content? Now we have two routes, right? One is we pivot everything to being more, high scale, beautiful, looking very snazzy, etc. Because that's what people seem to find comfort in. And the other is the exact opposite, by the way, which is you show them something that is exactly what they don't want, because it's different, and because people want something that's different.
Right.
So we're debating between those two trends, and like I said, we're trying to figure it out. But I think you'll see a bit of both. So you will see, for instance, some more sort of glitzy content, or some more sort of, the visual appeal is far more sort of exciting than what you've seen till now, which means more outdoorsy stuff, more stuff shot in a very sort of interesting way, and so on and so forth. So that's one sort of insight. The other insight, which my team is sort of not agreeing with, is that spirituality has made a comeback here.
Yeah.
So about 60% of young people feel that spirituality or religion helps them make sense in a confused world.
Sure.
Now, when I told them we should do something around this on TV, they came back and said, "Are you mad? That's not what MTV is about." But I think for me and for a bunch of us, that response is why we should think about it. Because if MTV is not about that, then what are we doing in that space? Right? And that's MTV for you. So while there are no clear directions as such, these are all sort of stimulating conversations to have in our creative and marketing teams, and actually all teams, constantly sort of discussing and looking at how to make sense of this.
It's very interesting because, 2-3 things to pick at there. First of all, completely agree with you, right? I think the COVID period has been a sort of the time where a lot of people have let their insecurities come up, and they've sort of taken steps to address those insecurities, address what's keeping them up at night. And I love the fact that this generation has been like, bro, paisa chahiye life mein. This is not, they have no context for 1.5 rupees ki bus ticket, right? And they have no context for, 5 rupees wali Pepsi. For example, thanda matlab Coca-Cola was 5 rupees. They have no context, right? For them, money is important because without money, you're stranded. in a world which won't give you access to any of the good stuff that you see on TV, right? So if you're seeing it on TV or on your screen, you need the money to go out and get it, right? And I love the clarity with which they come at this, right? And I think it's upfront in the report as well. It's a stark contrast from, say, my generation or our generation for that matter, right? Where we were like, nahin, we want to be really good at what we do. Money to aa jayega, like, like balls, man. Paisa chahiye, aaj chahiye, abhi chahiye, kyunki good life abhi se jeeni hai. I don't want to wait till I'm like 35 and then figure my good life out from there. So I love that. What I'm also very intrigued by is what you said at the end, which your team is not agreeing with, about spirituality and religion, right? There was a time when it wasn't cool to be religious. Sure, spiritual, I mean, there is a whole subgenre of cool which is deep spiritual, but you have to do too many drugs to get there. So we're not going to talk about that. But do you think kids today think spirituality has become cool? Is that one of the contours that you're seeing coming out?
Yeah, so in fact, what surprised me was that I think when I was growing up, and very honestly, at the cost of sounding like a duffer, I didn't even understand the difference between spirituality and religion. For me, It was like,
एक ही बात है.
एक ही बात है, बस वो, that's the story.
हाँ, एक में भगवान होता है, एक में बाबा होता है, ये पता था मुझे, इतना फर्क पता है.
I didn't even have that understanding, but the idea was, हाँ, मोटा-मोटी ये same चीज है, right? A couple of young people we spoke to, and a couple of them, in fact, when we launched the report, is that we did a small panel discussion. 21-year, 22-year-olds there. Clarity with which they said that I'm not into religion, I'm into spirituality, or vice versa, depending. And they contextualized it so well. So I think these guys know what they want there. And they have a clear understanding of certain concepts that I think we were frankly, were alien to me, at least to me, right? And I think that somewhere, like I said, because no one has any answers. I mean, let's be very honest, at the peak of the pandemic, someone was saying mask pehno, someone was saying mask zaruri nahi hai, someone was saying globally, right? And also, see, for these people, they live in an interconnected world.
Right.
So it's not just what you're seeing from, let's say, your government or your stakeholders or whatever. Some countries saying something, some countries saying something else, some head of state is saying something else. They were confused. And I think when you're confused, you look at, and I think, to be fair, religion and spirituality doesn't have any clear answers, but that sort of helps you sort of try and make sense of it on your own. So it was a very natural sort of space they moved towards. And again, I keep thinking of this, right? Like when we were in trouble, when we were growing up, who did you talk to? Talk to your friends, your siblings, your parents, maybe your grandparents, your teachers, but no one knew what was happening.
Right.
So I think then they went to the space where that has all the answers, that I would argue would be a search engine, but I think they found a sort of deeper connect with spirituality and religion. And I also think somewhere that's the dichotomy as well. So एक तरफ आपको पैसा चाहिए, मतलब it's about doing well and all of that, and दूसरी तरफ you're like but I want to zone out when I want to zone out, and this is my sort of Zen space, etc. Which is also interesting. Actually, very interesting. I never thought the two could coexist, but possibly they do.
It's very interesting indeed. Let me ask you something that I've heard so many people say, which is, oh, this generation has no work ethic. What does the report talk about or say about that?
Yes, I don't think so to be very honest, we haven't directly answered that question. But I think it's safe to say that, see, definitions of work ethic, etc. have changed. There was a time when, the maximum hours you spent in office, that was seen as, the guy is really hardworking, etc. Many people didn't have a life outside of, sort of what they did from a 9-to-5 perspective.
Right.
This is a generation that's grown up with monetizing their side hustles.
Right.
They're all influencers. They're all, doing something which is phenomenal. If you see their resumes, for instance, everyone's done something which looks like, wow, I didn't even know what this was, right?
Absolutely.
So I think this is a different beast here. And to manage them, you have to think of things very differently.
Right.
So I think the question work ethic has to be turned on its head. I think from a corporate perspective or from a work perspective and maybe from a labor policy perspective, people need to start asking questions on what is work.
Right.
And also, is the gig economy really shaping up rather than plan for आप 20 साल काम करोगे, आपको gratuity मिलेगी, provident fund, savings, etc. Maybe the perspective has changed now. Maybe it's about, somewhere I was reading, and this wasn't part of our report, but, a lot of young people want to work for 2 years, take a break for one, then again work for 2 years and take a break for one. It's a very different mindset. To someone who's from outside, they will see this as a shoddy work ethic.
Sure.
But maybe they got something right that their elder peers never understood.
Or never had the option to, or
absolutely
didn't know it was possible. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a better way of approaching it, right? I'll give you an example. I mean, in my family, for example, my wife's sister, my sister-in-law, so wonderful, hardworking 21, 22-year-old girl. She's in college. She's studying fashion technology. And for the past year or so, she's been running her own label. And now she's got herself a GST number. It's doing exceedingly well. It's called Kauri Collective, and they make these like one-of-a-kind dresses, right, for example. And she's just done that instead of doing what I did at 21, 22, which was go out every evening with my friends, spend my parents' money, do nothing but eat and drink and generally, waste time. But it's a completely different paradigm, right? And I'm sitting her down and having conversations with her saying, hey, look, you've got to do this for the next 30 years of your life, right? Why don't you take it easy for a few weeks and chill? And she's like, but it's what I want to do. And why do I have to do it for 30 years? I'll do it right now. I'm doing well and I want to focus on this, and which is a perfectly different way of looking at it. But I think it hits home to what you were saying, which is what is work indeed, right?
Yeah.
Here are people who have been given access to the most powerful communications technology. They've been exposed to the most inspiring, independent entrepreneurship stories, whether it's in big tech or whether it's in small influences, and they're taking after what they see, right? And I think leaves us in a very interesting position, right? And I think it tags back to the name of the report as well a little bit. I mean, you got this entire generation kind of sort of looking at being Atmanirbhar as soon as possible. Gives me the perfect segue to go into a break. We'll be back right after these messages. We're having a riveting conversation about the youth with Anshul Elavadi from Viacom 18.
Hey everybody, it's been a great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Advertising is Dead, Varun talks to Paul Ravindranath G, Program Manager, Developer Relations, and Head of Google Accelerator for India. They discuss the startup ecosystem and how Google is enabling innovation through this program. On Shunya One, Sheila Datti and myself talk to Abel Joseph, founder and CEO of Aisle. We discuss how Aisle is a truly Indian dating app. It's not so much as a dating app as a matching app. It's a really interesting conversation. You should definitely check that out. On Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav uncovers the hidden injustice in India's languages and how it shapes the way we travel and interact with people. On the Life Manifesto, Zarina debunks leadership myths that are popular amongst people. And on Khel Niti, Rajiv Mishra, Nikhil Chopra and Ayaz Memon discuss Australia winning the T20 World Cup. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, do check out our various YouTube channels. You can catch them on IVM Podcast/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week: Cred, Bank of Baroda, Quota, CoinSwitch, Kuber, Flay Coffee, Intel, and Oxfam India. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Back on Storytellers and Story Sellers, we're still talking to Anshul about the youth of this country and how MTV is going to continue to be one of the dominant cool brands for Gen Z. Anshul, let me pull back from what we were discussing before the break, which is the report, and talk about MTV as the global phenomena that it is, right? There's been evolutions of MTV, for that matter, from a music brand to a reality show brand, culture brand to a merchandise brand. There's so much that MTV does, right? There is a huge difference in how MTV currently appears, say, in the West versus how MTV appears in India, right? Help us sort of rationalize that a little bit, especially in light of what we just spoke about, right? The report that you've put out, again, I think we missed talking about this, so I'm going to just stress on it. It's a pan-India report. It's not a metros report, right? It's not like Xavier's ke bacche aajkal ye kar rahe hain, right? This is a pan-India report. Yet we're still experiencing some schizophrenia, if that's the right word, maybe, in terms of how programming is, and where does this leave you in light of how global is and how India is? What should people expect from MTV in India now in the next 5-10 years, maybe?
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, the way we see things is that, globally, frankly, they've been, it sounds funny, but they've been an older brand globally, right? Like you mentioned, so unko 40 saal ho gaye, hum 25 saal, so we're relatively younger in that sense, right? So there's a bit of a different context there, because today, someone who was watching TV 40 years ago probably still has a lot of nostalgia about MTV. So I think from a positioning perspective, and while this may not be sort of entirely accurate, I think they sort of look at a slightly broader base than we do, whereas ours is much sharper. Right. So I think that's one sort of big difference. As far as the programming, etc., is concerned, to be honest with you, I have to hand it to the folks who were running MTV in the past. I think they saw this coming a long time back, and in the late 90s, early 2000s, they figured that India is a different market. We're a much bigger sort of country in terms of young people, etc. We were then, and we are even now.
Sure.
So they need their own kind of stuff, right? And also, to be honest with you now, I think enough has been said about localization.
Right.
I mean, whether it's even within India, right, for that matter. I think one of the problems that MTV has, for instance, is that I don't think today we've been able to transcend in the current avatar all of India the way we should have.
Mm-hmm.
For example, southern markets and so on and so forth. We're still primarily bigger in Hindi-speaking markets. So I think
absolutely
that's the difference between MTV globally and in India. Going forward, I think two things that we missed out on, and we're trying to figure out how to get back on track on that. One is that back in the day, MTV was the creator economy in a platform.
Absolutely.
Right? So, the VJs were the OG sort of influencers, the kind of stuff that we did then would qualify as quasi user generated content today. It was ahead of its time, really. But then came along this technology wave, which took creator economy to a whole new level. Right? We made creators by making them win a reality show.
Right.
These guys made people creators by giving them all the tools to succeed and a stage that people never compete with. And I'm talking about, the video platforms and all that you referenced earlier as well. So I think that is one area that we want to try and buck up on. And I don't know what the answer there is, because frankly, I think our soul is that of a publishing sort of, or a content behemoth, not really a platform or a tech behemoth. I think they work very differently. And someone like you who's worked in different, sort of organizations, I'm sure you understand that DNA is right.
Absolutely.
How you look at content, how you look at the platform. So that's one thing that we want to sort of figure out. And the other piece really is, I think at some level, this whole social video boom, and I talk of social video because it's not user generated, it's not producer generated, but it's there everywhere. It's more about watch time and engagement and all that. Maybe we were a little sort of too focused on what we were doing, and we didn't expand our horizon to as much as we could have. So I think those are two areas that we want to sort of focus on. Maybe in the next 6 months to 12 months, we'll announce some initiatives in that space around all the genres that I think we sort of invented in the country. So look at music, from a contemporary perspective, of course.
Right.
Music or comedy, or even shows. For example, Kaisi Yaariyan, which was our show, was a cult hit. I mean, there were petitions made to the Prime Minister to sort of bring back characters and so on and so forth. So,
right.
How do you sort of take that and continue with that DNA across different platforms? Is a question that we're trying to answer as we speak. And we'll probably do some stuff very soon.
Right.
This is our 25th year, so we should show ourselves a bit of self-love.
For sure. And 25 years is a big milestone. Let me ask you this, and I'll pick at something that you said earlier. Localization, while we're still Hindi dominated, I think the experience of being young in India has become fairly multicultural, right? Especially because of the advent of the internet. I mean, I call myself from the internet, even though I'm now 34 years old. Someone who's 18, 19, 20.
But you were the dial-up modem, the 50,
absolutely, right? I saw that whole evolution happen, right? And wasted a lot of my parents' money on phone bills way back when, right? But now it's a completely different world, right? How do you see that playing out, especially from a language perspective, language and culture perspective, right? In terms of representation, how do you see that playing out, right? Are you expecting that to change? Because what we've seen usually happen, and I may not be the most updated guy about the latest supermodel series, but what we've usually seen happen is that, sure, we end up representing Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore really well. And then we kind of add garnish for the others, right? But are you expecting that to fundamentally change given the nature of the youth today?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Actually, it's good feedback for us as well. One thing's very clear, that young people are sort of given the exposure they've had, right? Whether it's through directly traveling or watching content or talking to people across the world or jamming with someone on Omegle or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing's very clear, that people are more open to different cultures and so on and so forth. And it's more about, you identify more easily. So a young person maybe in Lebanon today, which is going through a financial crisis or a sort of financial crisis, maybe they identify with someone in a part of Europe that's impacted by no tourism, right? So I think the walls are really the lines are blurring, right? The walls are collapsing, so to speak. And therefore we need to experiment as well. So for instance, if our thought is good, then does language or setting really make a difference?
Right.
Because you eventually will have subtitling and dubs and so on and so forth. A story will touch your heart.
Right.
And that's definitely an area for us to think through. It's just that sometimes what happens, to be very honest with you, is that commercial models are such that they prevent you from doing things like this. Yeah?
Right.
Because this first question is asked is, where is your channel available? Oh, it's mainly in Hindi-speaking markets. The other distributors don't carry it. So what do I do? So then you start thinking of, okay, can I do something which is only digital, which doesn't have these boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
But even there, to be honest with you, while there are no business-driven boundaries, there are consumer-driven boundaries, right?
Right.
So consumers may not if a consumer is not used to watching, let's say, Tamil content on your platform on YouTube, and you suddenly put up Tamil content, the chances of a consumer like that coming on to your platform are lesser than they would be otherwise, right? So I think there the question is then how do you build a name for yourself which is culture agnostic, which is youth culture, but culture from a distinct perspective. So we're also experimenting on that front, but it's difficult. It's easier said than done. There are lots of naysayers, lots of challenges that one faces.
Sure. I think it's a slow march of change, right? I mean, the way we see it.
Yeah, which by the way has been accelerated by the pandemic.
Absolutely.
So now questions that we didn't ask earlier suddenly being asked, right? Suddenly
absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Siddharth Anand from Udly, and who was talking about, hey, look at how many Malayalam films are doing well, and look at how many Punjabi songs are doing well. And that's culture is sort of coming in and going out, and there's so much to experiment to figure out. I think as sort of numbers obsessed people on the business side of storytelling or story selling, as we call it on this podcast, we tend to look at shorter timelines, but culture takes its own time, right? I think there is that patience at sometimes for it to happen for itself. Let me ask you this, and this is something that I've been meaning to ask you, and I'm so glad that I have you here directly to ask you this. La Liga on MTV. Can you please explain?
Right. No, that's a question we get asked often. So, I'll be honest with you. Somewhere, I think the part of the DNA of MTV, right, is to constantly question, right, and constantly reinvent itself. Now, I'll tell you a very interesting proposition. People kept saying that, from a purely television ratings perspective, right? These aren't ratings movers. Like they don't suddenly, your ratings don't go through the roof per se.
Right.
But we know that as young people or as slightly older to current young people, sport is a religion, right? And football, for instance, we know is growing substantially. In fact, there's something to be said that if you look at on television, younger people, their contribution to football is growing faster than their contribution to cricket. So I'm saying, it's an interesting space. And 10 years from now, we'll know where we're at. So the question was, what can we do? Is there something we can look at? And honestly, we met the La Liga folks. Someone introduced, Rise Worldwide. We work very closely with them. They're sort of sports management agency, fairly sort of well established in the country. They introduced us and said, let's have a conversation, right? And it was honestly a very exploratory conversation.
Right.
And there's Oscar and Jose from that side. And, we told them, hum aapke liye music video banayenge. And we thought we'd probably say, what are the buggers talking about? But it resonated, right? And then they came back to us with stats that were interesting. They said, more people are consuming our brand on Twitch in Europe than they are maybe on, more young people, and the ways of sort of engaging are different. We're open to this experiment. We'd like to see what you can do and let's try it out.
Right.
And we did. And I think strategically what that does for us is it gives us a chance to experiment in a time pocket, which is different from our regular time pocket, right?
Absolutely.
So it either is late night or GEC viewership that we don't compete with.
Right.
The fans of La Liga will still come. I think that's the way we look at it. Of Spanish football will still come.
Of course. They don't care about Sasural Samarka for sure.
Absolutely. They don't. Right. They don't. So I think that for us was the sort of punt that we took. And I must say the punt has paid off well from a ratings perspective, from making our brand more national. Right? It was also very critical. So for example, markets like Kerala have been reactivated for us, which is interesting. And I think it's a good sort of experiment sort of for us to do. I think we would like to do one more, and maybe sort of in due course we'll announce that as well. But again, these have to be done very strategically because, unlike regular sports networks, you don't have the whole FPC, which is, the fixed point chart where we sort of plot all our content available, right? Because I will still do roadies, I will still do supermodel of the year, I will still do Splitsvilla. So that leaves me with two very keen windows, right? One is maybe early morning and the other is late night. So if I can do something in the mornings, which is to do with sport, etc. Irrespective of what traditional feedback loops tell you, we know that this is a space that young people are gravitating towards. So why not go for it?
Love it. Again, I think it's pretty much in the spirit of experimentation that you talked about earlier. And I'm so glad that it's paid off. I want to ask you two very different questions as follow-ups, right? Very recently, we had the VMAs that just happened, and the whole world for a week was talking about just the VMAs, right? We don't have an equivalent of something like that in India. And I'm not just saying MTV doesn't have it. I'm saying nobody has it, right? Yeah. Where do you think, from a cultural perspective, does our obsession with this fall short of what are global standards? Any thoughts on that, on how, on why maybe we're not able to extend that into something that's more like the VMAs or more like the Met Gala? Is that something that you've contemplated?
That's a very good question, actually. See, we used to have, so MTV has done, of course, our version of, sort of music awards in the past, etc. I think, let me think, should I give you the sort of the proper answer or the real answer? So I'll go with I'll go with the real
I'll take
answer.
both.
Okay, I'll go with the real answer at least first. See, I'll tell you what tends to happen here. One is that, from a commercial perspective, to be very honest with you, there is an angle where the VMAs particularly, they do very well even on the fact that people are attending them, right?
Right.
And I think that's a very different ecosystem in the West. I think in India, of course, we've done, and Viacom 18 has been in its maiden edition, the partner for Global Citizen, and also we experimented with large-scale events. So we know what that space is like. But I think it's a challenging space in India to crack, right? Where the commercials need to make a lot of sense. That's one honest answer for you.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, COVID makes it next to impossible unless you have existing property or whatever. But I think there's another answer as well, which is that for some reason, I think, we have our own version of the spectacle,
right,
which are our big award shows, etc., and all that, right? I think for a lot of other sort of, for music videos as such, there are other metrics that they track. I know for a fact that, performers look at whether they're trending on YouTube or they're, have they cracked the first 10 million views barrier and so on and so forth. Whether it's organic or not is a different question.
Right.
But they're looking at metrics of that sort. But I think there's an interesting space. And I think that, we have to make tailor to our taste, right? Which is India. So I think there, in fact, a property that I have a lot of regard for, frankly, is the YouTube Fan Fest.
Right.
Because I think they've sort of tackled it very interestingly. It's a visual spectacle. It's your idols that you're seeing on stage, but they may not necessarily be, traditionally in just the music space or they're just sort of a bunch of diverse people. So is that something that's more up our alley? I think that's more up our alley if we can deliver.
Right.
Music videos per se, of course, that's a sort of classic area where we have experience. But I would rather look at it from a different sort of perspective. In fact, I'll go one step further. Globally, there's a platform called VidCon, which is very interesting.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I've always thought, in India, we need to sort of give people that a brand like MTV can do that, right? When you have our sort of, the last guy who did well in Splitsvilla, today his Instagram following has gone up maybe 150x post being on the show. Clearly, we did something right.
Right.
So how do you sort of empower more creators to deliver on that stuff? So I think that's an area that personally excites me more if we can do it.
Love it. My second follow-up was moving away from MTV. Actually, was more about English movies in India, right? And again, I'm absolutely part of the generation that grew up with watching all of these movies on TV, right? And the TV programming block was everything for us. Then came the era of piracy and DVD downloads and all of that stuff. And now you've got the era of streaming platforms, right? How do you see this playing out for Viacom from a TV versus digital consumption perspective? Is there TV पे English movies में दम है अभी भी, या are people completely switching off over to streaming?
Well, it's a very good question you asked. So personally, for me, I think I can answer more on the English series part because in Comedy Central, both are more about series than movies.
Sure.
See, to be very honest with you, there's an interesting angle at play there, right? Mm-hmm. I think, India is a large country. You will always have an opportunity for different segments to develop. And therefore, in that context, TV is definitely a space to continue to be, in and operate in. But the OTT conversation is very different, right? So, for instance, there, my ability to target, let's say, what you would like to watch is much easier. I know exactly, my ability of being able to tell that, it's not just an English movie that you're watching, but maybe this Israeli show will also be something that you'd like to watch, based on your interest. And maybe a Malayalam film add to that. So it's actually apples and oranges. Whereas the need that an English TV channel provides really is more about curating an experience for you, which sometimes you just don't want to go. How many times have you logged on to some streaming service and said, what do I watch, versus you switch on the TV remote, you say,
right,
it's interesting. Or you change the channel, but it's interesting.
Right.
So that opportunity is always there. There's also a need for discoverability. You have to also understand that, from a pricing perspective, TV is still far more an easier sort of, entry platform than a streaming platform, in general. And streaming platforms don't just look at the fees that you're paying for the subscription, but also look at the data cost, right?
Absolutely.
Just this. So I think there's still that area to be crossed. And the other piece is a lot of streaming platforms, really, the ones that give you, international content, they don't allow brands to really talk to the consumers because they're sort of, subscription-only models.
Right.
Whereas TV platforms allow you to reach that audience as well. So I think TV still has some steam left in it, but don't think of it like a substitute or even a peer of OTT. That's a very different sort of ballgame. But definitely, there's a huge opportunity for curated experiences delivered in a buffer-free environment, and that will continue to exist for a while.
All right. That makes a lot of sense, actually. I mean, the whole difference in consumption of how TV is accessed versus how OTT is accessed, how brands are talking, who's funding these channels, obviously makes a huge difference. On that note, let me ask you about branded content, especially on digital platforms. I remember very recently seeing Comedy Basecamp. I think that's what you called it. And my fellow, I feel so good when I say this, right? Let me say it properly. My fellow podcast host, Cyrus, was on it as well. How's that working out overall, right? Branded content in the digital age with MTV, with its own whole sort of questioning brand values and youth centricism. How's that working out? What's the hot news there?
Right. I think there, frankly, it's a game that we sort of have played since time immemorial, right? We've always been, everything that we do is pretty much branded content. So we understand that space very well. I think what's unique at our end is that it's the full service capability.
Right.
So my team is, we can do everything in-house if need be. Mm-hmm. We work with partners as well, but, depending on the workload, etc. But I think the capability is in-house. And I think, to be honest with you, we don't even like to call it branded content.
Right.
At the end of the day, the whole point is to, strike a chord with the viewer or the consumer, right? And if there's a brand that's woven into it in a very interesting fashion, why not? Why not look at it from that standpoint? So I think the key with branded content is, you don't change your metrics, you don't change your lens, you just subtly change the message, or maybe not so subtly. Comedy Basecamp is not very subtle.
Sure.
It's so I think that's the way to sort of look at it. So as long as you don't look at branded content as a separate category per se, I think that's sorted. The day you start looking at it separately is where things become a little complicated for you, because then you start looking at more from the point of view of,
the advertiser.
Yeah, the advertiser and so on and so forth. And that doesn't work for the advertiser either, right? So we've been part of many conversations where advertisers said, no, but I want it this way. And we said, okay, sometimes you have to give in as well.
Sure.
But I think a lot of savvy guys have come back to us and said, you know what, we'll just go with your judgment this time around. Yeah. So that's the way we see it. And I think what helps for us, frankly, is that from a social media perspective, the traction that we see there is enormous. So what's changed from a business perspective is more people are coming to us more from the deliverables on social than it is for anything else, which is interesting for us as well.
Right. I think that's the headwind that you're getting from the creator economy as well, plus being an original programmer who has tons of content going out on social. I think that makes a lot of sense from the advertiser's perspective. That brings us to the famous Water with Vineet section. Now, this is a section, Anshul, that is completely original. It has nothing to do with any other show you've ever seen. Yeah, completely original. Vishal and I came up with it over a glass of water, and now it's called Water with Vineet. What happens is I will ask you questions and you will have to give me snap answers. The first question that I have for you is, MTV has always been, like you said this earlier as well, the provider of OG influencers, right? We still have Malaika Arora as one of the most stylish women in this country. Every time you mention Milind Soman somewhere, people are losing their shit. But who are 3 young creators that you have your eyes on saying, hey, these are the guys who are going to be the next gen face of MTV?
I won't go as fast to say next face of MTV.
Oh, sure. Let's be politically correct about it.
Yeah, but 3 guys who I'm watching very sort of, I listen to and watch particularly. I think one for me, frankly, is, I don't know, young qualifies or not. One person who I track online is Mumbaikar Nikhil. I like his sort of, he used to be into motorcycling. It's an interesting sort of area to see. There's a bunch of young people who run Rimora vlogs, which is very interesting. I sometimes feel that that's the kind of character that we want on the channel as well. But whether the channel is, there are lots of T's to be sort of crossed before you can get to that stage. So Rimora vlogs, Mumbaikar Nikhil. And the third person who's interesting because of this insight that we had on spirituality recently, I think he's filled the void that young people need to this thing is Ranveer Allahabadia.
Of course.
He does interesting stuff, right? I think he does interesting stuff. I've watched a lot of his content as well. So 3 creators that I find very, very interesting, none of whom are currently on the channel. But these are interesting people to watch out for in this space. And I think there's Samir Raina as well, who's made chess a mainstream. Samir, I'm sorry. Very sorry. Samir Raina. Who's made chess a mainstream phenomenon. I think there are 3 or 4 people who are, I think what they've done is very interesting, very gutter-breaking. And they discovered, they made a niche mainstream, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah. And if you like Ranveer as well, go to episode 5 of this podcast to hear him talk about starting out his YouTube channel and getting to doing what he does today. My second question to you on Water with Vineet, right? So there's comedy, there is what I would call youth drama, sure. There's reality, there's music. In your estimation, right? What is the sort of programming mix in terms of percentage of hours, for example, that you're chasing? Where do you think that cuts through for young audiences today?
Right. So I think, so to be honest with you, for music, we've got another offering altogether, right? Which is MTV Beats, which is our 24/7 FTA music channel. It's number one in space. It's a fantastic offering. So I think from a TV perspective, it's also on Free Dish, making it a very mass platform. There's a separate space. So I think music, I'll sort of try and wiggle my way out of that one, unless it's some special interest music, which is unique, like what we're doing on Unwind with Unacademy, right? Now that has some.
And or Hustle, I think that was also.
Yeah, Hustle as well, absolutely. Yeah. So these are very unique sort of spaces. I think they have a natural home in MTV flagship, the way we call it. So that's definitely, it's there, but we'll do it selectively and do what we really believe in, right? On the reality piece, that will continue. That's our core. And as far as reality is concerned, all our shows have that angle. Now, what shade of reality it is, I think we can experiment more.
Sure.
Right. So we haven't done, for instance, docudramas. We haven't done a lot of what we do is, unscripted, but there are different ways of looking at it. So I think reality is a space we need to sort of cut even sort of deeper into. Comedy is a tough space. And I think we've almost abandoned that. Yeah. Of course, Comedy Base Camp we're very proud of.
Right.
But it's a very difficult space. But I think there's a lot of experimentation we need to do over there. We will do some experimentation. And then on the youth drama, we're trying to work on some ideas, but there it has to be something that is really a touchy topic. You know what I mean? Because I think MTV's done that very well in the past.
Right.
So how do you talk about something that no one wants to really talk about? We have a couple of concepts in sort of discussion. Hopefully we'll see some action on that front.
Right.
For example, there's one trend, which the team is working on very actively. It's basically to do with cosmetic surgery.
Right.
Now, we think this is a very alien concept, very bahar hota hai, vagera, vagera. But to be honest with you, it's a real, it's happening with young people across India.
Right.
And some of the surgeries and all they do is, I haven't even heard of them, right? Their body parts I'm not even aware of. So we'd love to put the spotlight on that. It hasn't been done. So I think those are broadly the buckets that we see sort of ourselves operating in.
Love it. I'm looking forward to the MTV India show about Brazilian butt lifts. that has to come through at some point. My last question to you is, I know this tends to be a tough question. At least it's a tough question for me to answer working in content. But what do you watch for fun?
It's an interesting question. I have a lot of content on incognito mode, but
right.
but I think to be honest with you, it's a mix and match. I sort of watch really sort of varied things. So, for example, the last thing I saw was a show called Hit and Run. I think it's an Israeli show. The guy, the protagonist of Fauda, which is interesting.
Right.
I also watch a lot of stuff which is just snacky content. Just sort of. I'm very obsessed with traction. So at least on public platforms, sometimes you get to see number of views and traction, right? So it's interesting to see what's happening, how much of it is organic, what are the comments like. I read a lot of comments actually. I know that sounds very weird, but I can.
No, it's the best sort of qualitative research you can do.
Yeah, it's like go on a lot of that. My own interest is a lot to do with international affairs. So a lot of stuff that's happening, on the geopolitical side.
Sure.
There are streamers who do it, which is very interesting. There are professionals who do it, who have a very different take. It's a lot of that content. I do watch some amount of South Indian cinema as well, which is interesting, especially slightly, the action masala films.
Right.
I think that's a good release.
Right.
And obviously a lot of our own content. Supermodel of the Year is a show that I'm very proud of.
Right.
It's currently underway. Of course, shooting is done.
Right. Season two is coming out, right?
Yes. It's already out. It's on air right now.
Right, of course.
But very interesting. Very different take on conventional definitions of beauty. So I think that's
right.
And of course, the one thing that I'm looping constantly on YouTube right now is Unwind. There's a song by Badshah and Reet. It's called Avara. It's a personal favorite. So it's a bit of, mix and match around there, but it's fun.
Love it. That's it. Those are the questions I had for you today. Thank you so much for spending time with us and talking us through this. And I loved how no holds barred this was, right? This wasn't corporate speak, and I loved it. Thank you so much for very candid, very interesting chat.
I really hope that we can meet in person soon and stay safe. And thank you very much for having me.
For sure. That's it from me. This is Vineet Kanabar saying goodbye.
Habits? Routines? How exactly do they help us get better? Well, to simplify it for you, tune in to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin Doctor and I'm going to be here to help you get better daily with some simple, easy to do habits that you can easily adapt to your life. So tune in to the Habit Coach podcast from Monday to Friday because I believe that awesome lives start with awesome habits.
सफर, रास्ते, मंजिल और मुकाम, अक्सर ये हमसे कुछ कहना चाहते हैं, पर हम हैं कि अपनी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में इन्हें सुनने से कतराते हैं। नमस्ते दोस्तों, मेरा नाम है केशव चतुर्वेदी और मैं आपको ले चलूंगा कुछ ऐसे सफर पर जहां आपको एक नया नजरिया मिलेगा सफर और मंजिलों को देखने का। आइए इन किस्से कहानियों में डूब जाएं। हर मंगलवार और शुक्रवार